Wix Studio, the platform for agencies and enterprises to manage clients and projects with max efficiency, sharing Wix's SEO tech to help you drive growth.
Fix errors, waste, and issues in a couple of clicks. Get alerted whenever you're off track. Sign up at trueclicks.com.
My name is Gosha. I represent Redico Digital. I'm Senior SEO Consultant there. And today I'm talking to you about how we can leverage leadership skills to work with AI. So, why leadership skills and AI? Well, to answer that, we really need to go back to 12 months ago when I started experimenting with OpenAI's ChatGPT. And myself was very enthusiastic about this and looking at ways I can experiment and integrate this into my day-to-day. However, others around me were reacting differently. There was others that shared the same sentiment as me. However, there was others who were a bit more concerned about how AI may take their job role or what are the ethics behind AI. And it brought me to look at the change model curve. And as individuals, when we react to change in different ways. Whilst I was very much going through this in a quick way, getting to the experiment and integration stage, others were not. They might have been in the shock or denial phase. And it was really the sentiment about a fear of AI taking over, which really got to me. And I almost want to break this down and demystify this because I believe that AI is not going to take over. And actually, we can use human-based USPs to get the most out of it. But even if you're an AI enthusiast, it's hard to keep up. There's a lot going on. Integration is moving fast, and as a result, it's difficult to keep up with what's going on. And there's also uncertainties around the ethics of AI. But fear not, as humans, we have skills, and we should really be embracing what makes us us. And at the same time, we have skills like empathy, creativity, strategic thinking. And these are the things that make us human. And this is what is essentially going to get the most out of our relationship with AI. But if we use AI to automate those mundane tasks, we also free up ourselves to do what we enjoy doing and to kind of focus our energy on areas that give us fulfillment. So by the end of this talk, we're going to overcome that fear of the AI takeover. I'm going to show you how we can use human-based USPs to get the most out of AI. You'll leave, hopefully, with practical ways to get the most out of your prompts, and you'll shift your mindset and take on a new approach and relationship with AI. So I've broken this down into 5 areas. We're going to touch on the power of prompting. We're going to look at what makes good leaders. We're going to bring that around to look at leadership and AI. And we're going to go through some SEO-based examples of this in practice. So let's start with the power of prompting. What is prompting? Well, we know this is the input that we give to a generative AI model, and it serves as a starting point to generate a response. And we know that the quality of a prompt directly influences the AI's output, and a well-crafted prompt could yield accurate, relevant, and insightful responses. And on the opposite of that, a vague prompt will result in less useful outputs. But what I'm seeing is that we've become so accustomed to searching, and as search marketeers, we're almost approaching ChatGPT in the same way as we would Google. A search engine relies on a query input, but to deliver a set of results. But tools like ChatGPT, we know, are large language models. And if we approach tools like GPT, we'll not get, as a search engine, we'll not get those high quality kind of results that we're looking for. So we need to remember that it's prompting over queries when we're dealing with AI. And prompting is a process. It needs the right amount of time and effort, much like cooking. I fancy myself as a bit of a chef. So let's look at cooking. Cooking's a process, right? We marinate, season, prepare, we grill, we check temperatures, we combine ingredients, we plate, and then we enjoy. And there's multiple steps involved in cooking. And that's the same with prompting. So let's break this down. This is an extreme example. If we were to put something in like relatively basic, like create landing page for Redico, the input is non-descriptive, there's no context given there, and the output's not ideal. GPT is able to deliver something, but it's not bespoke. In the words of Eddie Abu, this is effing shit. It's not ideal. Instead, when we're prompting, we want to approach it in the following ways. We want to specify a role that GPT should be taking, whether that's an expert copywriter or a data analyst. We also want to specify the task. We want to explain to GPT exactly the output that we're looking for. We want to specify background by giving additional context, and we want to specify understanding by seeking clarity. So when we're prompting, we need to be specific, we need to give context, and we need to give mindset. So let's look at this. Let's say, for example, we wanted to create content. Because I'm on the content and AI stage, I thought let's do a content example. We want to create landing page content for the Redico site about the helpful content update. So here we're saying to GPT, assume the role of an expert level SEO copywriter. We're specifying the task by saying you'll be writing landing page copy for Redico. It should be about the helpful content update, and we've given extra context there. We've also specified a background. We're saying that we want to appeal to a certain audience and we want to speak to our audience in a certain way. And we're seeking clarity by asking a follow-up question to see if ChatGPT needs anything else to assume this role. And by doing that, we're engaging in a conversation. And you can see in this example here, GPT has come back with some additional information. It's listed out everything else that it needs to know before it can kind of assume this role as a copywriter. So we provide all the content that we need, we answer those questions, and we follow up again by asking more questions. We really want to kind of be specific, and we really want to see clarity from GPT. So we get to a point where GPT is happy to continue, and it's important to remember that we want to summarize. We need to summarize because we want to make sure that GPT has really understood the objectives that we're trying to achieve. So it's been able to summarize that, and it's done a good job of summarizing that. So we move on. We then follow up. But you can see here, I'm kind of almost repeating myself because I'm really seeking that clarity to ensure that GPT has understood what it needs to carry out the output that we're expecting. So don't worry about repeating yourself because we need to remind GPT of what it's learned about the objectives that we're trying to fulfill. And the outcome, well, this was the outcome. Now, I don't know about you, but I would never talk to my audience as hello digital explorers. It sounds cheesy, it sounds naff, and it's not great. So the results were not perfect. So this is the stage where we really want to navigate GPT to kind of get to a better output. So we want to say what's good and what can be improved. We want to steer by giving examples of good and bad. And we also want to encourage to get closer to that finish line. So here you'll see we're saying what's good and what can be improved, and we've highlighted that. We're also giving some references as well of things to include. We're also giving examples of what's good and what I really liked about it. And the output, it's getting there. But this is where we start to finesse and move to a point where we're really happy with the output. So now we'll continue that process until we're happy. But it's important to remember that we're not looking for 100% perfection from GPT here. And human intervention will absolutely be needed. We want to be kind of getting that draft and reviewing it from a human point of view and adding experience to it. I also want to point out that we want to utilize custom instructions as well. Custom instructions are super important. Here we want to say exactly what GPT should know about us and how GPT should be responding. So to summarize prompting, we want to be specific, we want to give context, we want to give mindset, and we want to give reminders. So now that we've covered that, let's dig into AI and leadership. So what makes good leaders? In our working careers, we've all experienced different type of leaders. They're not so good, and they're good. But what is it specifically? For me, a good leader is someone that can outline a vision, really showcase a vision, someone that can communicate effectively, someone that cares about others and shows empathy, but also someone that can give clarity, someone who knows how to make those decisions and when it's time to make those decisions, and someone that's able to give feedback and also seeks feedback. So hopefully you know where I'm going with this, but what does this have to do with AI? So leadership skills that I just showed there should be leveraged when we're using AI. And hopefully we'll be able to kind of dig into that. And actually, the way that we want to humanize AI is by the AI taking almost like the apprentice role and us taking the role of a mentor or a manager. So how can we leverage this? Well, if we take the example of that prompt, vision, we're specifying who we want to go after, what we want to do, what additional context we're giving. We're giving a vision of what we want GPT to achieve. We're also setting expectations. We're saying exactly what GPT should be doing. We're saying what we want included. We're setting expectations for the task. We're giving encouragement. By giving feedback to GPT, we're saying exactly what's good and what isn't good and what can be improved. We're also giving encouragement. We're saying that you're assuming the role of an expert level copywriter. You're well-renowned SEO who's learned from well-renowned SEOs. You've also learned copywriting techniques. This is encouragement that GPT needs. We're giving and seeking clarity by asking those follow-up questions. And as I mentioned, we're giving feedback. But the most important thing throughout our conversations and our prompts is that we're ensuring we're showing empathy and respect as we would an employee. So let's go through some examples about how this works in practice. So let's say, for example, we wanted a cluster group of keywords that we've exported. The input might look something like this. We might say to GPT, assume the role of an expert level SEO who understands how to analyze search queries. So we're setting really kind of that, we're giving that encouragement about the role they should be adopting. We're also saying you should be carrying out keyword clustering, and we're giving a definition of that. So we're really kind of being specific. We're giving kind of the parameters that it should be looking at, and we're giving that extra detail around the task at hand. We're also saying the purpose. Why is this task important to us? We're giving encouragement as well, and we're giving that expectation about what we want to achieve. And we're also seeking that clarity by asking these follow-up questions. And GPT is able to kind of come back to us and say what it needs in order to carry out that task. So we've been able to kind of answer those questions. And on the GPT response here, you can see that GPT needed some additional context about the data that we'll be providing it. So GPT has asked about search volume and competition levels and keyword intent. So we're able to answer those and eventually upload the CSV. Once GPT has looked at the CSV, it's able to summarize that and start the task of keyword clustering. However, the results weren't that great and it needed steering. Because I knew the keywords that I had given, I was able to kind of steer GPT to kind of cluster in the way that I would have wanted it to. And it's important to note that this is a long conversation thread, so I've kind of summarized this with a few slides, but here I'm like, this chain of communication back and forth went on for a while. But you can see here, we finally got to a point where GPT knew exactly how I wanted to cluster these. And we got to a point where I wanted GPT to really summarize what I wanted it to achieve. And it was able to do that. So once I was happy, I asked GPT to provide me with the CSV output, and the output looked something like this. And the results, they weren't perfect, but they got me along to a point where it gives me a starting point, at least, to go and look into things a little bit more and to group things in a different way. Again, not looking for 100% perfection, and that human intervention will be needed. Let's take another example. Let's say we wanted to create content ideas for our website. The input might look something like this. Hey GPT, take on the role of an expert level copywriter and content creator. Again, we're giving encouragement here by saying exactly what GPT is well versed in. We're specifying the role. We're saying what's good and what isn't. And we're setting expectations by saying we want content ideas with a title and a brief description of what that title is about. And we set parameters by saying we want 10 to 15 content ideas. And again, we seek that clarity by asking those questions. And GPT is able to come back with some additional context that it needs. So we start that steering process. Here, GPT was able to kind of deliver on that. We were able to answer the questions it needed, and it gave some good content ideas with descriptions. But as I was going through this process, I wanted to know a little bit more. I wanted to know what particular insights this content should entail, what formats we could include, what topics to discuss, and what assets. And GPT was able to deliver on that, but as you can see, it's forgotten about the description. So I wanted to consolidate that information. So I asked GPT again to kind of follow up and include everything in a consolidated view. And the results were a CSV export with all these columns, which was great. I can now pass that on to a content specialist to enhance further and to research those, or an on-page specialist to carry out some keyword research. So that gives me kind of a good starting point for that task. Let's take a look at something else. Let's take a look at analyzing data. If we want to analyze data between two dates and gain some insights and use these leadership skills, then the input might look something like this. Again, we're engaging in a conversation. GPT wants to know some more information. We're providing that. We're steering GPT. Before we give it the CSV upload, it wants some more insights. That's great. We can give it that. And then we get to a point where GPT is ready to proceed. And the output is some insights here. I can now take this in a CSV format and go and research more. I can narrow down these URLs, look for further insights, and bring in some other data points before sending back to a client. It's also important to remember that these same principles for how we construct prompts and how we view prompting can be the same for custom GPTs as well. Here, we've got an example of something that we've created, which is the Redico HR resource, where we want Redico employees to be able to insert messages in here around HR policies. And the same principles apply when we're breaking down the communication between creating this custom GPT. But custom GPTs are way more powerful, as you know. We can add more context, we can add more knowledge, and it gives better responses. So, as a summary, when prompting, be specific, give context, give mindset, and give reminders. Don't approach AI like a search engine when you want to get quality outputs. Also, don't copy and paste prompts. Use those as inspiration to edit. Adopt a mentor role with AI. Humanize that relationship, whilst AI adopts the role of an apprentice. Outline your vision, set your expectations, provide clarity, steer and encourage GPT to get to the desired outcome that you're looking for. Give feedback, but more importantly, approach generative AI tools like a human. Thank you for listening to this talk. You can download the slides at speakerdeck.com/Gosha. Before I finish up, I just wanted to kind of end on this quote that I found. So, whilst one machine can do the work of 50 ordinary humans, no machine can do the work of one extraordinary human. So, Brighton SEO, go out there and be extraordinary. Thank you.
Monthly reporting making you want to shove sharp things up your nose? Try Dragon Metrics, the all-in-one SEO software with mind-blowing reporting tools.
Demand sphere. Limitless visual insights from the SERPs. Unlimited dashboards and users. Easy to use and easy to scale your growth to new levels.